Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Campion, and this is the Quantum Mystic Podcast. Here with my bestie and the co founder of the Quantum Mystic Mystery School, Jane Bear. And today we're going to talk about something real. I mean, I say that today, but honestly, that's what we do every time. And this time, we're really going somewhere that doesn't get talked a lot about enough in spiritual communities, and it's really time to talk about it. We're talking about toxic positivity and the cost of that. In fact, when we posted the topic for this, I got a couple of emails from listeners who are like, "Thank you for bringing up this subject because it needs to get talked about." And you know what I mean, toxic positivity. It's sort of like we feel it is that pressure to keep our vibe high, to sort of slap a sticker of gratitude on top of our grief. We're called to like trust the process, putting that in air quotes. Trust the process when really maybe what we need is permission to fall apart for just a little minute, or kind of smiling through and saying everything's fine when it's really absolutely not fine. And here's the thing we want to name up front: toxic positivity is spiritual bypassing dressed up in good intentions. And maybe it rises from the fear of sitting with what's uncomfortable. Our emotions, other people's emotions. We really, sometimes if we can't hold space for it inside of ourselves, we really can't hold space for it in other people. And we kind of rush past the pain to try and get back into the light. And when that happens, we don't really heal. We just kind of bury things. We sort of sweep them under the rug, which of course is the absolute opposite to what real healing is. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going there. We're going to explore what toxic positivity actually is, why it runs so rampant in spiritual communities. We're going to talk about the difference between genuine optimism and emotional avoidance. How love and light can sometimes become a way to silence ourselves and other people, and why our shadow emotions aren't the problem. They're actually the doorway into our next level of soul's growth. And this leads us all to what it really looks like to hold space for the full spectrum of your human experience and other people's too. So if you've ever been told to just stay positive when you're struggling, if you've ever felt like you couldn't be honest about your pain in spaces that only celebrate the light, this conversation is for you. We're allowed to feel it all, man, and that's what we're going to do. So join us in the conversation and let's get to it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah.
Like this
What do
is
you
such
think about
a
that, Jane?
it's such a big one that you and I talk about all the time, right? And even just in like our casual, like when we're hanging out, this is a topic that we cover because we see it so often. And I just want to shout out everybody who's listening live. If you are, let us know, drop us a note, say hi. How are you doing? Are you snowed in? Are you in a warm place? Let us know. And how this lands for you, and if you've experienced this in your own life and spiritual journey. Um, and I was really lucky. Um, 2 decades ago, I was living in Southern California, and it was the mecca of yoga. And like some of the greatest teachers of all time were teaching in Venice and Santa Monica. And it was really great work that was being done. It was like true yoga, right? But it spawned this, like I said, this mecca of yogis who were there more for the glamour than the teaching of yoga. And so I saw over truly decades of people come out of classes disembodied and staying in that love and light place, um, and in the same breath speaking the speak, but then road raging on somebody. And I was like, it was such a fascinating thing to experience and watch. I'm like, how are these two living in the same body,
Mm,
and I think, spiritual spaces are not often a safe place for truth. They're more safe for composure. They're safe for looking healed. They're safe for being palatable. But they're not always like safe for getting really real. And I think that that's sort of what happened over the last however, long, is that it like spirituality became more of a performance, uh,
Mm.
than, you know and another way to sort of avoid, like, the raw, inconvenient, messy parts of being human. Um, and and so what happens is over time we shut stuff down. It's like we shut down anger and grief and fear and rage and confusion, um, instead of we shut them down instead of like managing them, and we cover them up with like
Mhm.
light. So it's a big topic, and I think everybody's experienced this.
Absolutely. Hi, Badra. Badra Singh. Hi from
Hi,
it's nice to see
Badra.
you, honey. Glad you're here. Yeah, anything. So I think it's kind of tricky. Like, I mean, I'm the person that used to cry in yoga class. Like, I'd go to yoga class and I'd be like, "Wah,"
Yeah,
and I've had some yoga
so
teachers that
good.
were down for that, and I've had
Yeah.
other yoga teachers who were like, "Stop doing that right now." Um, and it and it's just I was just like, "Isn't that the point of yoga? Like, isn't it like we're supposed to like, move the stuff out of our body?" And of course, it's not just yoga communities; it's Reiki
No.
community too, and
Yeah.
all of them. And I think sometimes like our egoic self just like grabs on to the structure, the language, the like, ooh, the specialness of it's kind of a little tasty little treat for the ego. And then we put it on like we're wearing an outfit, but we're not really embodying it. And that's hard. It's hard to deeply embody it. And it's not a I mean, I was guilty of that in my younger days too, of kind of not knowing how to do the real work. And maybe we have to start with, you know, practicing it before we understand the depth of it. Maybe we all start there. I know that I did. But I think the invitation inside spirituality is always to go to the next, to the real, to the
Mhm.
next level. And we have to be careful because we're not always in groups where that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so finding the groups or, having your teams, as we talk about in, the mystery school, is having the your healer or counselor or therapist or, whoever, so that you can go to those places. Um, and and I think even within those spaces, we're trained to have this positivity that, um, it's like toxic positivity isn't optimism. It's like an avoidance dressed up as like enlightenment. It's like
Mhm.
that belief that if you think the right thoughts and you feel the right feelings and you stay spiritually clean, quote unquote clean, then you won't have to face, any part of yourself that still hurts. But like you said, that's not healing. That's like, containment. And it's not really great containment because it ends up spurting out. Like I said, it's like in the road rage example, it's
Mm.
that jelly donut that
My
happens.
jelly donut, yes.
Your jelly
Squeeze
donut
the
theory.
squeeze the donut. Jelly's coming out somewhere.
Yeah. And as we know, as we talk about and kind of preach up on our, soapbox, is that real spirituality is not about staying above your humanity. It's about being present inside your humanity, because your
Mm.
anger isn't the problem, grief isn't the problem, and sadness, honestly, sadness, grief, anger aren't low frequencies. They're just information. It's intelligence, it's energy that's moving. Um, because emotion, I love this saying, emotion is energy in motion.
Right.
And when we block it, there's no hope for enlightenment. If there ever was the
No.
desire, we become tight
Yeah.
and controlled and disconnected. Um, and
Mm.
and our nervous system gets all whacked out.
I found this really rampant in the like law of attraction community,
Yes.
because if we go with the idea of, you only get what you vibrate, and
Yes.
people are like, wanting to manifest more money or wanting to, and the law of attraction is a thing. I mean, it's one of the primary spiritual law, universal laws. That's true. But I think a lot of times, like, there was a lot of shaming and blaming and like, oh, you're never going to get what you want if you're so negative. Like, and then it kind of, well, what do we do with our negative? Like, I remember being like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to attract anything because I have all this inconvenient feelings, and
Right.
am I blocking my ability to manifest if it was really a conundrum. There's some sort of setup, I think, in that. I mean, not intentional, but there's like a real mind screw in
Yes.
that dynamic, like, oh, because now you're blocking your manifesting, and that would freak me out. And now I'm like, oh my God, now I'm freaked out. And I'm like, I'm even more ruining it, like, dang, that's a trap.
Yeah, because a lot of the law of attraction was taught in a thought-based process. It's your thinking manifestation, but really it's a full embodiment. It's a felt sense through the body manifestation, conscious manifestation. We're always manifesting. And so, but there weren't any tools given for how to move out and feel the stuff, feel the things. We need to feel the things. Um, you know, and this goes back to the love and lighters, which I lovingly, compassionately call them. But it's where love and light gets distorted because, love becomes this like politeness and light becomes denial. And you can really see this because, the honesty of how you're feeling feels like a threat. To
Yeah, it's almost like
like
the
you
love
said.
and light has become like a curse. Like,
Right.
like it's what you say when you want to end the conversation, or you don't want to
Yeah.
get into it, or you're like slapping some, let's slap something
Yeah.
on this to make it stop. Like, ooh, love and light.
Love and
You
light.
know,
I'm not feeling that. I'm not going there. Don't bring
yeah,
that
love and
energy
light to
here.
like there's some kind of like get that gross emotion away from me. Ew, love and light.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
feels almost like I don't know if it's said in I've had it said to me with so much, like, venom behind it, with so much,
Yee.
like a curse,
Eh. Yeah. Yucky. Yeah, and it's that toxic positivity that really is, it's fear disguised as, like, virtue, you know, or fear disguised
Mhm.
as discomfort. But it's like it's this fear of depth, fear of what being with what can't be fixed quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eliza says, it's like, "Bless your heart."
Bless your heart's like this Southern version of like,
It's
"Oh
a
my god,
Southern
you're such an
version.
idiot.
Yeah.
You're such an idiot." Well, they don't
I've
say that. They say,
definitely
"Bless your heart."
I've had that, like, the true bless your heart where it comes from such a pure place, and I've had the not the pure place, and the pure one feels so good, but the other one does not. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's, like, a difference between real optimism because 'cause we're not saying, don't bring in optimism, but there's a difference between that and, like, emotional avoidance. Because I think real optimism says, "I can feel this and still trust myself. I can feel what I'm feeling and still trust myself and those around me." And, like, the emotional avoidance says, "I can't feel this or I'll fall apart," you know? Um, and I think optimism doesn't, optimism doesn't try to rush to fix. It will it's honest and it listens, and it sort of trusts the process of feeling where this avoidance, this love and light, rushes towards light to escape the dark, and it
Yeah.
avoids to manage, it avoids all the feelings to just appear being healed. And we really need to know the difference within ourselves.
Absolutely, and I think real optimism happens automatically, normally, like, when you free some space in your heart. Let's say you're full of grief or anger or rage or, shame, all the hard ones. and you work through that. You have like you like process it, you move it out of your body, you process it, you express it, you feel it. And then there's like room in your heart for real optimism, like it's
Yeah.
almost like our heart naturally moves into a state of upliftment and joy, and until the next round of goo
Yeah.
kind of comes up to be. Like, I don't know if it's something that we chase,
Yeah.
or if it's just something that emerges when we've gotten rid of some of the, processed out some of the harder emotions.
I agree with that. It's not something to chase, and it's not necessarily something to mask. I think that that can be a learned behavior, is be optimistic, you know, is
Yeah.
to stay positive. And there's something to not dwelling in the negative for sure,
Mhm.
because that can create more like just, you know, in that way, it does kind of attract and allows our lens to see only the negative.
And
Um,
there's a thin line there. Like, how do we tell the difference
right?
between, like really like not swimming around in the negativity and victimhood to feeling it? Like, where's the line? I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's like a regular check-in, and it goes back to managing our own energies. So if we're if within our energy field we have a whole bunch of muck, we're not centered, we're thinking about, we're not present, we're not grounded, like it's going to be really hard. We're going to kind of feel heavy, and we're going to look more towards that mucky stuff. It's going to be hard to stay optimistic in the world, and we're going to end up continuing to see, all the bad stuff. And we might then end up doom scrolling, and then we might turn on the news and have to watch the news all the time. And it becomes kind of a spiral. But I feel like if we keep our energy bodies clean and clear, like we do our grounding practices, as we teach energy hygiene in the mystery school, there's a whole protocol to do, and then if we are able to really keep up with our own spiritual practices, we can stay present with what is right in front of us. And then we can discern the difference between, oh, that's external stuff that's kind of pulling me down. And all
Mhm.
that is going to always want our attention, right?
Right.
Um, it takes effort, it takes our awareness, it takes daily practice to focus and turn towards the light. But what I notice in my experience is when dark and light come like head to head, light always wins. Light always wins in any situation around the entire universe. Um, but sometimes we need to actually focus on that, and like you said, like we said from the beginning of this conversation, we need to feel our feelings, you
Mhm.
know? I don't know, that's what I think. It takes that awareness and the spiritual practice to be able to discern the difference between um, focusing on the negative of the world, because really it's often external, I
Yeah.
think.
That's a
Um,
it's a really good time to practice that because
it is.
the news is like every single day, I look at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's, for me, like a really moment by moment, like like a practice of feeling compassion, sort of prayer, compassion, like for me, compassion is like feeling somebody else's pain and empathizing with it without getting lost in it. you
Yes.
know and feeling that way for myself too, which is actually harder for me because I have to get lost in my own pain.
Mm.
So it's for me, keeping my heart's really hard to live in the world with an open heart. Dang. Like, ouch.
It's an
And
act of rebellion.
it is an act of rebellion, and I think it's an act of spiritual maturity.
Yep.
to sort of feel like, see, not close your eyes and turn away, to see the pain of the suffering of the world. And for me, it could be the person in front of me in a client session, or what's on the news,
Yep.
all of it, what's going on inside with my children, my own family and their struggles, to stay engaged, connected in that heart of compassion without getting lost in it, without losing my grounding, without
Yeah.
popping out of my body and becoming, dissociating. And it's like, oh, it was with each breath almost,
Yep.
with each breath, like, okay, I'm doing it. Ooh, okay, I'm doing it. All right, I'm doing it until
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I gotta just go walk the dog on the beach now, or I just gotta like, I need to like attend to myself. And it's, I think that's sort of the balance between the light and the dark, I think at least for me.
And it's so true because, we teach meditation. I teach meditation like all the time. That it's the number one spiritual practice that we can do for ourselves. And ultimately, the more we practice the over, you know, days, weeks, months, years, we take our meditation off the mat, off the cushion into the world. We take it into every breath, every conversation, every
Yeah.
interaction, every time we're in the car, every time we get out of the car. Meditation doesn't stop. And so that's what I feel like that's what you're explaining is it's in every breath.
Yeah.
And so it's being present and bringing ourselves back into the present moment with every breath. And
Yes.
that's when we know that the practice becomes life. And that's what meditation is about, is to get better at life,
Hmm.
not get better at
Beautiful.
meditation.
Beautifully said, Jane. And I love what Gail said here too, that grief and gratitude are two sides of the same coin when it comes to this balance. I think that's so true. Like we sort of can't have one without the other. It's like love
Yeah.
and grief, like we feel grief because we really love, you know? And when we're allowing ourselves sort of the fullness of our experience, and we allow other people the fullness of their experience. And I think that the toxic positivity happens when, we can really only hold space for other people. We can only go with other people where we can go inside ourselves. So if
Mhm.
we have like big chunks of experience that we weren't allowed to, have, like when let's say you were a kid, you were never allowed to get angry. Rage was impossible, or grief, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you like can't go there. You don't know how to go there. Your family never went there. It's not your fault. It's just like whatever, morphic field of your family that you grew up
Yeah.
in. And then when somebody else gets mad, you're like, you have sort of short circuits you. It'll like blow your nervous
Yeah.
system, blow your nervous system up. And then we do what our family did. We're like, stop having that feeling, or like, I'm out of here, or whatever it is. Like, so I think to be like, as healers, and especially if you're a healer, you can only go with your clients where you've been in yourself. You can only hold space for um for other people where you've held space for yourself, which is why shadow work is so important. Shadow work is such an important process for healers to go through, for spiritual seekers, and why it's so important part of this thing, because it's really the shadow. That's what we're talking about. So we always conversation always ends up sort of in
Yeah.
shadow work, but love, the love and light is just the shadow of spirituality, and it's the shadow, what you can't own, you push into your shadow, and then you can't let anybody else go there either.
That's right. And
You
it's important. Yeah, so well said. And it's so important to say that like light that avoids shadow isn't light. It's fragility. It's like it's a nervous system that's about to explode,
Yes.
and like you said, the shadow isn't a flaw. It's the place where what we've experienced as truth is stored. Our
Mm.
our jealousy, our anger, our grief, our fear, it shows us, it's the opportunity to show us just what, like, jealousy shows us what we want, and anger shows us where our boundaries were crossed, and grief shows us what mattered, and your fear shows you where you still believe you're alone or abandoned or whatever it is. And these emotions are not, they're not obstacles, they're opportunities.
Yeah.
So
So well said.
it's important. That's why this work, the shadow work, like you said, I mean, it's the it's the doorway and the hallway and the and the tunnel and the
And the
bridge
destination.
and the
All of it.
destination to
Yeah.
actually feeling love and actually being the light.
Right. One of my spiritual teachers says the point is to get to the place where there's nothing you can't be with.
Yes.
There's nothing you can't. Thank you, Giovanni. There's nothing you can't be with.
Geo.
And there's nothing you can't be with in yourself. There's nothing you can't be with in other people.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all intelligence. And, it's not to say that it's easy. We can break it down in a simple way, but that it's not easy. We understand that. And that's why we created a 3-year school program to help with this.
Yeah, because it's not easy to do alone. I think we need, mentors. We need a community. I always say it's like trying to look at the back of your own head. You need a mirror, and
Yeah.
and teachers in a group in a community are like the mirrors. I mean, in your whole life actually is
Yeah.
a mirror. But I think I've never been able to do it alone. I think Jane, you've done a lot of it on your own, which I always like hats off to you. Like that seems like a miracle to me. That you were
It
able
was.
to do a
Yeah.
lot of it on your own. I never really have been. I've always needed that teacher, spiritual teachers, and I've had some really, really great ones. Thank you, God, for
Yeah.
sending me the right spiritual teachers.
Yeah.
But I think it is like, I think we're both committed to helping other people get there easier than we did. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we created a pathway,
Yeah.
that can help you not have to sort of thrash around like we did.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's worth saying also just about this toxic positivity that, you know, eh, it's something that um allows us to have all the whole gamut of feelings, right? We can feel like clear and confused and strong and certain and shaken all in the same day. But we're not rushing to to heal that and to make other people comfortable, because
Right.
that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so we allow ourselves to process and have our own rhythm, our own timing for what that looks like. So that we're not trying to put up an appearance, because you know true I don't even know what to call it, because enlightenment is sort of abstract, but like this feeling of true like oneness or wholeness. It's not constant peace necessarily, but it's constant presence. And when we have constant presence, there is a peace that comes with that.
Yeah, I think it's not like you're just gonna be happy all the time, although sometimes for me, it's like I'm happy more
Yes.
often, and the joy I feel is deeper and more real.
Yes.
But I think it goes back to it's like equanimity. Equanimity, there's nothing I can't be with is kind of
That's it.
that's equanimity.
Equanimity.
So, like, I'm really sad now, okay, I'm really, like, grief now, okay, now I'm really joyful, okay, like, um, that's I think that's it, and it is constant. It's, like, moment by moment, breath by breath, feeling by feeling, thought by thought,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I think it takes sort of radical self-insight and a
Yeah.
commitment to to that process, even when it's dicey, even when it's uncomfortable, and even when we're in the dark night of the soul and sort of having unrelenting grief or unrelenting depression, like, can you stick with it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we do, life dishes us situations where we get to practice that a lot,
Yeah.
you know? Thanks,
Yeah,
life.
and that's why we're in Earth School. That's why we're here, is to
Yeah.
practice it a lot, you know? It's
Yeah.
not our human experience is actually meant to look this way. Um,
Right. That's why it's so bumpy.
that's why it's so
And
bumpy,
there's so much friction because
like a roller
There's
coaster.
if there was smooth ride, we'd have no chance to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I feel like an ongoing discussion because it does feel so nuanced sometimes. So I know we'll keep talking
Mm.
about it, but this is a good one. It's a really good
Yeah.
one.
Super good.
Yeah.
And if you want to find out more about our school, we'll be starting another cohort soon that you can find us at quantummystic.com. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at lisacampion.com. I work with psychics, healers, and empaths to help them fully step into their gifts because I think the world needs all the healers it can get. And I
Yeah.
recommend you work with Jane. Jane is an incredible also healer and psychic.
You can find me at Jane Bear Healing Studio. And I do work one-on-one and in groups and work on healing the root cause of whatever anyone's going through. Um, and and I've been a little sleepy on social, but definitely, you can hit me up at the Jane Bear, because I'm working on being a little bit more. Are we all working on being a
Yeah.
little bit more active? But I like the community building. It's great. And I love these conversations. And thank you everyone for joining in with us live. And if you're listening um, on the podcast, thanks for listening. And make sure you like and subscribe and comment and all the things. We love having you here. And thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time.